No matter where you are from or what culture you find yourself in or identify with, the stories that these people are creating speak to parts of the human experience and the human soul. And beyond that can expand horizons. I think for myself, a lot of the literature or comic books that I get most interested in now, later in my life, are things that I never would have thought about, that I wouldn't have necessarily identified with, that help me to see, if not understand, aspects of someone else's life or someone else's culture. And especially for indigenous communities, communities of color, queer creators, the ones that we focus on here at the shop, those are all communities that have been overlooked by mainstream society for very long periods of time. And so engaging with and getting into the stories that we have and that we're trying to put out there, I think help speak towards addressing some of the gap in recognition that's existed for far too long. I'm Aaron Cuffey. I'm one of the founders and partners in Red Planet Books and Comics, as well as Native Realities Press. Red Planet's motto is Unleash the Indigenous Imagination. That really is the core of what we try to do. In our publishing, it's about unleashing the imagination of our creators and communities to make things that speak to them. And from the retail side for our bookstore, it's about unleashing the indigenous imagination for everyone so that they're all able to see it and to engage with what the indigenous imagination can create. I'm a huge comic nerd. I have been since I was a little kid. So I love that we get to make comics. I particularly love that we're doing it with an indigenous focus, indigenous creators, and stories that help to bring indigenous portrayals into a modern lens. But if we weren't doing that, I would still just love being involved with comics because I've wanted to do that since I was 5 or 6, and now I finally get to. I think it's really important for the titles that we bring in and the representation that we're trying to create and increase to be present for people on a personal level, because I always wanted to see that as a young mixed person. Like I said, I'm a big comic nerd since I was a little kid, but most of the superheroes that I encountered didn't really reflect me or my family or my community. And that's been a complaint of many people for quite some time. And luckily, in recent years, the publishing industry, including ourselves, as well as retailers like Red Planet Books and Comics, have worked to increase that representation. And that is the most gratifying part of what we do, is seeing young children for the first time seeing themselves represented in a children's book or a comic book or a prose novel. And also us being able to offer titles that they'll be able to read for years to come, that will continue to make them feel at home and seen and recognized. I'd say our main customer base is people who are searching for something like what we're doing, either online or ran into it in a newspaper, heard about this Native-owned comic shop that focuses on creators of color, and they want to see what it's about. We've had people come from as far as Europe, South Pacific, as well as all over the United States and Canada, coming specifically destination trip to come to Red Planet Books and Comics. That really does fill out a lot of our day-to-day. Beyond that, it's local Albuquerqueans and New Mexicans who enjoy the options that we provide as far as comic books and general books that a lot of times bigger shops or other independent shops don't really touch upon. We love being a part of the Albuquerque community because we are the Albuquerque community. I mean, me and my business partner both have lived here 20 plus years, both went to the University of New Mexico, started our business here in Albuquerque with local artists, and we have our brick and mortar shop here in Albuquerque. I don't think you could take Albuquerque out of us any more than you could take us out of Albuquerque. As far as recommended comics go, we always recommend our publications, both selfishly, but also because we think we make great comic books. So our favorite titles are Tales of the Mighty Code Talkers, which is historical fiction about the Code Talker program from World War I through the Korean War. the Dear Woman Anthology, which is a collection of women creators that we also published, and Ghost River, the story of the Conestoga Massacre in the 18th century. Outside of Red Planet / Native Realities Press, we also love Moonshot, which is an anthology of indigenous comics. A Girl Called Echo series, which is 4 volumes about a young woman in a post-apocalyptic landscape that's really exciting. And then venturing beyond Native comics, because we do love to promote comics in general. There's some titles we like, such as Black from Black Mask Studios, which is about a world in which the only people who have superpowers are Black people, and how the government and society reacts to that. The Love and Rockets comics of the Hernandez brothers, and on a local level, a book called Under the Cottonwood Tree, which is a New Mexican fantasy story. Red Planet Books and Comics is here for everyone's comic book and children's book and general interest book needs, focusing on indigenous creators, creators of color, women creators, queer creators, anything and everything you could be looking for, right here in downtown Albuquerque at 1002 Park Avenue Southwest. It's just a block south of Central on 10th and Park. Come on down. We'd love to help you find whatever you're looking for and recommend all of our games, toys, comics, and books to you every day.